So the big question is this: how do real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we conservatively grow our real estate business to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. It is Ed Matthews with the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today is a conversation with someone who I met, it's got to be a few months back. I had the pleasure and honor of appearing on his podcast, and it was such a good conversation. I begged and pleaded him to find half an hour to do our show as well, because he's a wealth of information. And today is the day. Bud Evans, welcome to the show. Aim high, and thank you very much for your time and willingness to speak to me and our audience today. Welcome.
It's an absolute pleasure being here. I love talking to you. First off, I enjoy any conversations that you and I have, and we get to talk about real estate. This is like the trifecta of perfection.
Could it be any better? Right?
No, not at all. Couldn't be.
Right. Hey, so for those of us out there that may not have come across you on social media or read anything from you or watched any of your videos, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. So the long story short, I am a retired police officer of 13 years, retired military officer of 34 years, former mayor of Cinnaminson, real estate investor. I'm licensed in New Jersey, but I operate in New Jersey and Pittsburgh, PA with single family homes as an investor. I'm a real estate investment coach for Tarek El Moussa. I teach the BRRRR method, commercial multifamily analysis, property management, velocity, and infinite banking. We can go down a whole rabbit hole on that. I've underwritten about $100 million personally in deals and created a personal real estate in the tens of millions. I am currently the president of Aim High Properties. We are a parent company that owns 8 subordinate companies, ranging from owning real estate to property management, all the way to, no kidding, a hair salon. And I did that all in the last 4 years.
Wow, 4 years. And with very little sleep, I assume.
Yes. Yeah. No, I don't sleep.
Yeah. Good. Well, it's obvious because, you're a busy man. So, yeah, right. Better living through caffeine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so, in terms of your career choices and kind of how you landed in this part of the world. I mean, obviously you've done a lot, right? I mean, you've run a city in New Jersey. You've served this country both as a police officer and a officer in the Air Force. And so first and foremost, thank you for that. But I'm curious, obviously you're a capable guy. Why real estate as opposed to, opening up a chain of hair salons or nail salons, for instance?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd love to tell you that, it was a quick and easy transition. It was not. So back in the early 90s, I owned a restaurant. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I failed miserably, but that was okay. Because 1 year after I failed, I wound up being a police officer and then jumping into a bunch of things. That allowed me to get my first college degree and continued on from there. Then, I had always thought about, I sound like, one of the guys that come to me, right? One of the students. I've always thought about getting into real estate, but I didn't know where to start. So I got into, fast forward several decades, 2014, I started finding out a little bit more about politics. 2016, got elected to committee, got involved in economic development. I really enjoyed that. It's, planning out the structure and how your taxables, your rateables are going to be devised, what companies are coming into your town, what zoning is going to look like. Nobody likes zoning, but I liked it. And then all of a sudden the military told me, hey, not only are you not supposed to be mayor, but you were never supposed to be mayor. You need to resign now. And that happened in July of 2018. So I said, oh, well, okay, no problem. Turns out that there was some law on the books from the 1930s that nobody knew about. In fact, the JAG actually signed off on it and told me, good luck.
No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. So now I got 40 to 50 hours of my life back. And I said, you know what? That thing that I was thinking about for all those years and wondering what that was going to be like. When I was a cop, I had a friend of mine who was invested in real estate, and he was, living the dream. He'd go away whenever he wanted. It wasn't really a big deal. He owned a couple of quads down in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. And, I figured, well, let me try it. So I got involved in auctions and tried to go to the county courthouse steps and all this. And I was all over the place. I had no idea what I was going to do. I joined a mentorship program at the end of that September 2018. Yep. The next thing I knew, I was doing everything that, I teach people to do now, which was go and chat up real estate agents, how to connect with wholesalers, where to find these guys, how to find deals and consistently get those deals brought across your desk. And then, so 19, January of 2019, I started with my first flip. I finished my first month of actually, so why not October, right? Why not October to December? Because I was actually sent down to Texas. So while I was in Texas, I bought my first flip in New Jersey, living, down there in training in Texas. Came home and knocked that thing out of the park in January. At the end of the first month, we wound up not only with that first flip, we wound up with 2 rental properties under construction, and I never looked back. First That's 2 awesome. Years, we did 10 wholesales, 30 flips, 21 rental properties. Now we're over 100 flips. We've done 100 doors. Matter of fact, I have an appointment tomorrow looking at a multifamily property, student housing at Baylor University. So,
fantastic!
It's been a ride, man. We just started our property management company here in New Jersey, and that's going to kick off. I just had a meeting yesterday. That's going to kick off in full 1 October.
Yeah. So let's talk about the management company for a second.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So I'm in Connecticut. You're in New Jersey. In Connecticut, you have to actually be a broker to be able to run a property management company. To my knowledge, I think it has to do with collecting the rent.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, yeah. So I assume New Jersey's similar.
Yeah, there are exceptions to that rule. You have to be a part owner of the property that you're managing, and then you can, without question, you can manage your own properties. But I am partnered with a broker. Essentially, what we did was one of his agents, a friend of mine. My shingle hangs with this broker. I'm licensed in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So we have been working on this process, and now his agent is going to place my properties, and he gets his fee. I am now a service that is provided by his brokerage.
Fantastic, and
a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely, and certainly something that makes their clients' lives a whole lot easier when done really well, right? And given your experience, I have no doubt that you're going to make a whole lot of people successful. So it's interesting. I see a theme in your life, right? It's clearly service, right? You've served your country, you've served your local community. You're serving the real estate world not only as a property manager, but also as a mentor and coach. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So almost 2 years ago, I got a phone call from an acquaintance of mine who basically introduced me to Tarek El Moussa from HGTV. And he was like, hey, we're starting this new program. We'd love to have you come on board. And I said, great. I jumped right into it with both feet, took on a few students, figured, well, primarily, they're on the West Coast and some in Central, some very few on the East Coast. And I figured, well, since I'm doing this, I might as well do it for myself. So I started to cater towards some vets in the area, and some first responders. And specifically, we deal with them and how to, use the tools that they have in their toolbox to get rental properties, hold rental properties, and then make a decision later on whether or not they want to stay in the field they're currently in.
Yeah, excellent. It's funny. The 3 of the most successful people I know in my circle of friends, one is a property manager. Yep. One is a cop, and the other one's a fireman. So, it's interesting. And I would add a fourth to that. A guy I grew up with, his dad was a plumber. He was the town plumber in this teeny tiny town I grew up in. And, it's amazing. I think part of it is, just the fact that people that come from that vocation in its various forms tend to be highly disciplined, right? And organized, and they're all about systems and process and procedure. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I call it my PPC: process, procedures, and checklists. Right. So with those, you can't lose, man. Well, I mean, you can lose, but
but it's really hard.
You have to work it,
right? So let's talk about systems. Obviously, you've had a lot of experience with flips. And I think that's Tarek's primary focus is flipping, right? I've seen his show on TV. That's why I'm obviously with multifamily, which you've gotten into. So, in terms of what is your view on systems and, how do you run your business?
Yeah. So there is, so I am big on technology in case, nobody's aware of that. There are so many ways that you can, and so many different systems that you can go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole and just blow money left and right. There are a few systems that I use, like we use Slack for communication. As we grow the property management company, right now we're on the free version. As we grow the property management company, we'll go on to a team version of that. I use Zapier. So when I have an assistant, I'm going to say it again, he gets mad at me. Everybody needs a Ron. Ron Reyes is my executive assistant. That guy keeps me in line. We use a system that's called Motion. It's a calendar that he can task me, and it will find a space on my calendar that will, kind of plug and play. So that helps a lot. So essentially what happens here is we use Asana, Slack, Gmail, and Motion, and we use Zapier to connect all of those systems. So we take, if Ron gets an email, that says something to the effect of, hey, I need this receipt for this roof, or the insurance company's going to, this has happened today, or the insurance company's going to raise your rates, and no problem. Ron clicks the star button in Gmail. It immediately transfers over to Asana. Not only does it create a link in Asana, it sends me a notification in Slack while dropping an AI-based 30-minute calendar blocker into motion, and it finds where it should go in my calendar and then drops a task.
Wow.
Yep. Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
So, man, I thought I was a geek. All right. So I'm going to, for those folks listening out there, what I'll do is make sure that all that technology is with links is in the show notes. And if I can get Bud to break down the workflow, I'll even flow it out for you if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's really not hard. Zapier has on their YouTube channel, Zapier has a way to set all of this stuff up.
It's amazing what you can accomplish. And the thing is that at least two of those tools I heard are free tools, right? Slack, Gmail.
Right? Slack is free. Motion you have to pay for. Zap is, if you go with the free version in Zap, you can set up I think 5 or 6, I think.
Something like that.
And,
and for a small operation, which you are not, you're a much larger operation, getting started, that's a pretty easy bill to pay every month, right? Motion, I want to say it's like what, $20 a month?
$20.
Yeah, something like that. Right? Oh, fascinating. Okay. And so, you mentioned Ron, and everyone does need a Ron. My Ron's name is Janice.
Yeah.
And, I'd be lost without her. I'd give up my left arm before I'd give up, Janice working for us. But I'm curious about your team, in terms of what you look at, to operate. You're doing a lot of different stuff, right? You're doing a bunch of flips. You're doing a whole bunch of, you're buying multifamily. And so I'm curious how you keep all that straight and what the team looks like to help you manage that.
Yeah. Are you ready? Because we just went through a contraction. We cut our entire acquisitions team, not in a bad way, no hard feelings to them, no hard feelings to us. There were things that were moving in a direction. I'm trying to get out of single family home flipping and move entirely into buy and hold, not only and I am a single family guy up to 20 units. As long as I can buy it myself and hold on to it myself for an extended period of time and take the deduction of either 27 and a half years or 39 years, I'm all about it. So, anything above 5 units, I'll pick it up.
Yeah. And so you're handling, I assume, acquisitions directly, or does that come through Ron, or how does that work?
Yeah. So, great question. What we do is we vet it. It's very simple. When you get these notifications, it auto drops into a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet does a calculation on the ARV, the asking price, and it estimates a rehab based on the square footage, drops that into a Google Sheet. Google Sheet spits out a number, and within seconds, it's just I'll get a text message. We use a system called Open Phone, which everybody's got their own line. It's really nice. And it's just very simply, you just drag and drop and boom, it automatically fills. And you can tell in 30 seconds whether or not it's even a deal, whether I look at it or not. At this point, Ed, you know how it is. You look at a deal and it's like, ARV is this. It's a 2,100 square foot house and they're asking this. And you just go, yeah, that's not, before you even do any numbers before.
Right.
So.
It's funny. I keep having this conversation with investors every week, during the show and offline by networking and stuff. I have this conversation, the one you just alluded to, 3 times a week, where it's, I understand that, this building was worth what you say it's worth in 2021.
Yeah.
The problem is terms, we're in 2023 and they're very different, right? So I'll tell you what, if you give me a 3% mortgage for 30 years, I will buy at that price. Well, I don't know about that. Well, then do you know of a bank that's giving 3% mortgages? No. Okay. So then here's the problem. My debt has doubled in cost from 3% to, let's say it's 6-7%. It's at least 7%. It doesn't pencil, my friend. So what are you going to do? Right?
Yeah. And especially in our section of the country where the taxes are stupid, and they're like, oh, well, it meets the 1% rule. Great. I need 1.3% just to break even up here, over here in Jersey. So,
right. Yeah. Fortunately, that's one of the things that Connecticut has a little bit over Jersey is that while our property taxes are expensive, they're not quite Jersey level. They make us pay taxes on our cars and other things instead. So all right. So in terms of acquisitions, I'm curious. Now, obviously you're focusing on, and you're going through actually what I did about a year ago. So, and trust me, the water's really warm on this side of the ocean. So it's all good. But I'm curious about the your actually acquisition process now? Is it primarily, I mean, you are a broker, so, or a realtor, so that's got to help, having access to MLS and the other listing services.
It does. We have an automation for that, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, we have Bard, the Google version of ChatGPT. ChatGPT now integrates with Zoom, so you can pull it from there. You have to have the paid version for that, where you can just drop, I have my buy box in both systems. The problem with ChatGPT is that it doesn't spit out a Google sheet, where bard.google.com, it's their version of ChatGPT, will actually spit it into a Google sheet, which makes me, a lot easier to just grab and drop some formulas in there. And then it's just so much easier. So we use that, but we also have MLS stuff through Zillow, through that integration, getting kicked out to us on the buy box that we're looking for. So single family homes, 3-bed, 1-bath, 1,100 square feet. If it's a 2-bed, 1-bath, we're more than happy. If it's, as long as it's over 1,000 feet, because I'll find a 3rd bedroom.
Right.
Depending on the area, it's certain zip codes. It's all keyed out that way, and it's in a prompt. So it just, and we don't, we just leave that on the side, and every week we'll just go in there and click, please repeat that process. And, pops out, or we go into Bard, please repeat that process, because now they have their history on the left-hand side as well. So I have something called Real Estate GPT. It's my prompt for that particular thing, and it works on both. Yeah, the same prompt works on both, except that one of them is integrated with Google, and one of them not currently, because they've stopped it. But it was integrated with Bing.
Yeah. Neat. So how did you learn how to do that? Is that a trial and error? I mean, you are fairly technical, obviously, but did you just one day figure that out? Did you hire somebody, or is there a YouTube video on that as well?
I'm a sponge for useless information. Yeah, it's not useless. It's
useful.
Yeah, it is. It's very useful. I love it. I really enjoy figuring things out and finding integrations. And if we can use that automation to save me time, because time is everything, right? So if I can save time, then I can do other things, like go on a podcast with Ed Metz.
And here you are. So clearly you're doing it well. The geek in me is thinking, all right, well, you pull the information from Bard, you plug it into a spreadsheet that calculates a go, no go in terms of the numbers. And there's got to be some other integration where it populates a letter of intent so that you can email it out.
Not yet.
Yet? Right.
Not yet. No.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll develop that end of it as my contribution to the game.
There we go. We'll develop Clark Street Capital.
Sure. Why not? So, okay.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
So, hey, let's get into the final 4. And I warned you ahead of time, and these are not very hard, but hopefully we'll get you thinking a little more. So, in terms of mentors, right? I mean, everybody has had, you've had Tarek, and I know you've had, officers in the military who have impacted you in a significant way. And, I'm curious about the advice you've gotten, the best advice you've gotten, and, frankly, who gave it to you?
Yeah. So I wish I could put my finger on one piece of advice specifically. I will tell you that there was one colonel who really kind of sparked when I got commissioned. So I did 19 years enlisted and then did another 15 because I didn't suffer enough as a commissioned officer. And I had a lieutenant colonel who told me, invest in your people, the people make the mission. So that was kind of the best advice that I had ever received. And in all honesty, it's kind of how I run my company now, where we have our, we have our core values: integrity, service, excellence, have fun doing it, and be over communicative, right? So it's talk all the time. It's talk all the time, man. It's easier to get things done if you overtalk the issue and have that open lines of communication from the top to the bottom. It doesn't matter. And the same thing goes for property management, talking to your tenants and all that stuff. Yeah. So I let them run themselves. I let them police themselves and then just kind of herd the cats. But we were able to do that because what he was actually saying was, you work with some of the best and brightest people on the planet. This is the United States Air Force. These guys are highly motivated, intelligent people, and intelligence is a career field, not necessarily a requirement, but our guys were really sharp. So let them go, see what give them direction, say, hey, I need this, and then just hands off and watch the sparks fly. And that is some of the things that we have done over the last 4 years have simply been because of that mentality.
Yeah, it's amazing what, I worked for a guy, one of my mentors in my technology world, Rob Bernstein, and he said, they constantly said it, the company with the best team wins. Almost every time, right?
Exactly.
And he was right, and you are right. So is your lieutenant colonel. All right. So I'm always, you said you're a sponge, so I'm going to put you to the test here. So the question I always ask, and it's based on my fundamental belief that leaders are readers, right? Mm-hmm. So, but reading these days really isn't necessarily, a physical book, right? It doesn't have to be a physical book. It could be a YouTube video, a podcast, blogs, whatever, Audible books, audio books. So I'm curious in terms of how you take in information, and I'm also curious about who you're paying attention to these days.
Yeah, big on Gino Wickman.
EOS, right?
Finished another EOS model book. That's how we're gearing this property management company to function with the basic 3: sales, marketing, operations, and finance.
Yep.
And so we're taking that and we're building on that. So we just picked up an agent yesterday. I have 2 finance people that we picked up. One we picked up about a month ago, Arissa out of Houston. Everybody except for the people that have to be here, like project, I'm ops, right? So I kind of have to be here. And then all I'm basically doing is sitting in the control center, right? The command center. I'll sit in the command center and I'll have all of the ducks running for me. So all of the contractors and whatnot, we'll have them running, but phone calls come in to me and I actually engage with the tenants and talk to them. But so Gino Wickman, I use the EOS model in that way. A couple other things that I'm really big on is essentialism. I have a limited number of t-shirts. I have a limited number of joggers. I'm wearing flip-flops right now. That's my uniform of the day, right? Pretty much every day. And it's, my wife's like, are you wearing that same t-shirt? I'm like, well, yeah, of course. Steve Jobs had it right. He wore a black turtleneck, a pair of Levi's, and the same shoes every day. He had a black belt that matched. What decision do you need to, is there a more important decision I could be making right now than what am I pulling out of my closet?
Absolutely. I have 6 of these. Yeah. I do the exact same thing. And in the summer, they're khaki shorts. In the winter, it's blue jeans or khakis, and and a long sleeve version of this shirt, and that's it.
Right. That's Greg McEwen wrote a book called Essentialism, and fantastic book. I'd highly recommend it. There's obviously Vern Harnish, Scaling, the E-Myth Revisited. You can go down the list. How do I take it in? However I can get it. I've had people that were like, "Hey, bud, thanks for doing this. Here's a book." Cool. Thanks, man. And I love it when it's like obscure. Hey, here's a lesson that I learned, right? The subtle art of not giving an F. Somebody sent me.
Yeah, that's I just finished
right
that
as
book.
It came out. And I was like, oh my God, this is so. And then I found out that it was on audio and the author was reading it. So I had to go into Audible and I had to pick that up because, oh my goodness, if you think the book is good out his voice, with the accent, then you're going to love it when he's,
Right.
So,
that's how I listen to it. Yep.
Yeah. I use Blinkist for, if I need to get something in here quickly.
Yep.
I use Audible if I'm, I use Audible a lot. If I'm not reading a book, I'm listening to a book. And then obviously Old Faithful here, there. I've just got a library downstairs. Yeah. And it's not just, I don't just read real estate related books or business related books. I make sure that I'm into autobiographies, biographies, historical stuff. Like I read a whole series about Patton, that's
so more leadership focused or mindset or
all of it. Yeah. Everything I can. Anything that will make me a better person, I'll listen to it.
Fantastic. All right. Well, hey, so if question I have, you've done a lot in your professional career and also your personal life. The question I'm always interested in is, if you had to start over, some yokel on a podcast waved a magic wand and took it all away from you, but you could bring back, what you know today, what would you do different?
Yeah, I'd concentrate more on the who, not the how. Yeah. I did not scale fast enough the first time. Okay. And then when I did scale, I chose the wrong people to scale with. And in 2 years, experienced some serious burnout. Had to pull everything back. And then I tried to scale again, but I did it the wrong way again. And then we wound up having a couple of really bad flips that we had to deal with. Took a couple of big losses on those, and then righted the ship, got into the who not how mentality, and immediately started, oh, wow, this is what smooth sailing feels like. I was a duck on the water where, you see the duck just kind of moving this way, but underneath his feet are like, that was me.
So was it the wrong people in the wrong roles, or was it training? Yeah, I'm curious what was the difference?
Yeah, so I will tell you that there are a couple of lines of thinking on this. First one is, if you hire good people, you can train them to do anything. That's not accurate. If they are not an engineer, I don't want them building my plane. Right. Right. So if they are a highly capable person and they are really good with numbers, then obviously, and they're QuickBooks certified, they can be in my finance section. If they but the question that I ask everyone that I hire, now the secret's out. I'm going to give you the question that I ask every person that is a make or break question. This is an actual knockout question is, when is it okay to break the rules? And you let me know when you've done that, right? Or law. When is it okay to break the law and let me know when you've done that, right? And the simple answer is never. You'd be surprised at how many people say, well, if it's a matter of life or death, hang on, we're in real estate. Let's reel it in a little bit. We're not in the military right now.
Right.
So let's go back and rethink that assessment. What if you had, to break the rules or to break the law, when is it okay to do that? And the answer is no. There's not. Right. I just told you our core values, right? And the first one is integrity. And if you don't have it, you can't work with me.
Right.
So if I ask you, give me a no BS assessment of what is right and wrong with this current project, you can't sit there and say, well, bud, maybe this and maybe that. No. Hey, bud, this is the way I see it. This is my analysis, and this is why it's going to fail miserably, and it's going to cost us this much money.
That's so important, man, because, that I beg people just to tell me the truth, right? Because I can fix, if I understand, like you, if you understand actual situation, the decisions you make are informed, and you can actually write a situation or, cut bait if it's, if it's not fixable in your part of the world. So yeah, I mean, it's people, I always tell folks, I have plenty of cheerleaders. If I need someone to give me the sugar coat or tell me how awesome I am, I'll go buy my mom breakfast. She thinks I'm great, right?
Exactly.
And she's amazing. I love her, but she's not the one that's going to tell me the hard truth necessarily.
Exactly.
And you got to surround yourself with those people. So when not talking about real estate, just gathering, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can tell that Bud has a lot of hobbies and a lot of, he does a lot of fun things. But, so I'm curious, when you're not doing real estate, what do you do for fun?
Yeah, right now it's been a little difficult. I'm dealing a lot with the new projects, obviously, but I love golf. I love getting out onto the, onto the links and just kind of hitting that ball. I think it's one of the very few sports where you are, it's a competition with yourself. I don't care how many people you're playing with, right? And I'm not a betting person, so I don't put any money on it. So I'm not in competition with anybody else. I'm in competition with myself the entire game. So I love golf, ice hockey, because I played forever, coached forever. Love watching my Eagles play on Sundays. That's my one true day off where everybody knows, leave dad alone.
Right.
Not that it matters. My son's 31, married, and he's out of the house. So now he's the one that's sitting in the basement going, hey, leave us alone. It's Sunday. Leave dad alone. We're ordering hoagies and we're going to sit in the,
It's a good kid.
I toy around with video games. In fact, I have a video game for the guitar where, it's called Rocksmith, and I can plug in and it's like, Guitar Hero for real, so that's fun.
Cool. All right. Well, Bud, as always, it's great to see you, my friend. And I'm grateful for your time and all your wisdom and experience and sharing that with our audience. So if people want to learn more about your investing business, your management business, your mentoring, your coaching, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with me is to DM me on Instagram. It's at bud.evans. Very simple. Or you can check out Facebook. We have a group. It's free. That's, the best thing. It's free. It's called the Aim High REI. We're the Aim High Properties. I do the Aim High podcast, and we have the REI Not News Network, which airs on there every Friday at 10:30 a.m. It's me and Kimmy Crombie, and we just talk about real estate stuff that happened during the week. We do it badly. We make fun of each other. People that are tuning in get to throw comments and heat at us on Fridays. So this past Friday, we had over 200 viewers, which was fun.
That's great.
Yeah. So we have fun there. And then obviously you can search me out at budevans.com. And if you have questions about the mentorship program, just go to budevans.com.
All right. Well, Bud Evans, thank you again. It's good to see you. And I can't wait for this one to get released because there's a whole bunch of really good information in this conversation. So thanks again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. At any time I get the chance to talk to you, it's a fun day.
Likewise. This has been the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, happy investing. This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.